Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Donald Trump made, I would say, a very surprising statement, and that is the United States of America will not play the key role in Ukraine's security. Who's gonna play the key role? You guessed it, the imbeciles. The United States of America will just profit out of what they started. Good job. I don't think even the Brits will play a key role. Some other baboons will use their parents, brothers, husbands, and all that to provide the Ukrainians with security guarantees. At whose expense? You know. And who's going to make the profits? We are. They are. That's the first topic. The second one, well, we find out that Kim Jong Un, the woodchuck, fired or at least crossed the border into South Korea, and the South Korean military fired warning shots. But Donald Trump wants to meet Kim Jong Un, so the love affair starts again. That's great, excellent. So I have the details of what kind of role the United States of America says, according to Donald Trump, that will play in the security guarantees in Ukraine, and how Mr. Trump plans to meet Kim Jong Un. He tries to ooze in it. Why? Because Kim Jong Un has a love affair with Putin. Therefore, Trump cannot be left out. It's unbelievable. But anyway, let's start with the first article coming from Russia Today. From the evil Russians, right? Russia Today, the 25th of August 2025. The United States of America won't play key role in Ukraine's security guarantees. Who's gonna? Washington should support the effort led by Europe. That the president says, the US president says, Europe must take the lead in providing, I'm quoting, significant security guarantees to Ukraine. US President Donald Trump said on Monday. Washington's role will be supportive rather than primary. He stressed, and I'm quoting, Europe is going to give them significant security guarantees, and they should because they're right there. Okay, Europe, let's take, I don't know, Romania. Romania is part of Europe, isn't it? Okay. Did they have anything to do with NATO expansion? They were just occupied and drawn in. Did the Romanians have anything to do with 2014 coup in Kiev? No, it was Victoria Nuland. Victoria Nuland is not from Romania. Victoria Nuland is via Ukraine. She is from the United States of America. So the Americans were the ones who started the garbage. I haven't heard of Romanian Secret Service operating in Ukraine and having bases. Have you heard about that? But I heard that the Americans, CIA, had a lot of bases, about 12 of them, in Ukraine. I heard that Ukraine was armed not necessarily by Romania, but by the other guys, by the Brits, by the Americans. So, the Americans in primary. So, who are the guys who started the BS in Ukraine? Remember, the Russians went to talk to the Americans in 2021, not with the Brits or to the Romanians, to request or demand security guarantees for Russia. Remember? That's how it started. So it was not Romanians, Romania is part of Europe, and he said Europe should. It was not France, as far as I remember. Great Britain, a smaller role. So it was the initiator, the root cause. What is the root cause of Ukraine war? NATO. NATO expansion to Russia's borders. That's it. Checkmate. That's it, my friends. So who is NATO? What is NATO? NATO is the Washington Treaty, isn't it? Washington Treaty led by whom? The Americans. After the Second World War, the Americans said, okay, you are mine, you are mine, you are mine, you are mine. I'm going to make a little treaty here in Washington, D.C. All right? And you are mine. The NATO is United States' treaty. That is minions around, like a gang. Is the guy in charge, and you got the minions. You do over there, you do over here, you do. That's how it is. So this guy right now failed or is had enough with Ukraine. Therefore, he lets the baboons. You deal with it. But you know what? I will support you. You know how I will support you? I will sell you weapons. And you deal with Putin. Oh my God. And not I, like the United States of America, will sell you weapons. Our private corporations, arms manufacturing companies will sell you weapons. And you're going to pay for it with what? I don't know, with some loans. All right, let's read further. Trump told reporters, and he added that Washington would remain involved, and I'm quoting, from the standpoint of backup. Like in Ukraine, the Ukrainians are dying for our freedoms. And I'm quoting, we'll let you know that maybe later today, we're meeting with the leaders of 7 great countries. There will be a lot of help. Europe is the first line of defense because they are there. But we are going to help. We'll be involved. It's crazy, man. This is crazy. Let's look at the second one. And I picked New Voice of Ukraine for this title right here. Post-war arrangements. I like the title. Europe will handle Ukraine security, Trump says. You guys are gonna handle it. And the title is, where are you, baby doll? Right here. US to facilitate European security guarantees. Facilitate meaning that we're gonna sell you weapons, we're gonna make a profit, and you're gonna be struck by the Russians if in case. Good job, Donnie. And I'm quoting, I want to stop seeing people getting killed. All right, if you're really honest about that, why don't you take care of the Palestinians for a change and see how those guys are killed? Oh, you're not? Therefore, no tears here for this. Trump said at a press event, blah, blah. First of all, can make it fit. First of all, Europe will give them, Ukraine, significant security guarantees if the Russians agree. And they have to do it because they are close by. But why not Romanians? They have borders with Ukraine. How about Hungary, Slovakia, and how about these countries right here? How about Moldova will give security guarantees. Romania will give security guarantees. Hungary, we got Slovakia, we got Poland, maybe Belarus, and the Russians. These are the closest countries that could give security guarantees if it's about the proximity. But we are going to be involved in terms of support. We will assist them. Good job, good job. The president then boasted about ending all financial aid to Kiev, saying that we're no longer paying Ukraine any money. And that's true. You know why? Because he is going to provide his, how should I put it, arms manufacturing companies with a lot of commands or a lot of orders coming from the Europeans, NATO. Trump outlines U.S. role in security guarantees for Ukraine. Hoorah! Let's see. All right. We don't even know what the security guarantees is because we haven't even discussed the specifics of it. But we're going to help them. And if we get a deal, and I think we will, I don't believe we're going to have much of a problem. Meanwhile, the US president noted that the US is no longer spending money on Ukraine, pointing out that Washington is now selling weapons to NATO for Ukraine. Good job. Good job. Good job, man. Now you know who the profiteers are. So, the United States of America says, we didn't start this. You are close. This is the reasoning. You have to deal with it. But hey, those guys are upset with NATO, and NATO is... We are NATO. We are NATO. The US is NATO or are NATO. The other guys are just NATO's baboons, because when you're strong, you want a lot of people around you. When you're weak, you want to fight alone. Everybody else. You know how that goes. So good job. Good job. We get a lot of money. There will be some revenue coming here and so on, taxes and people working and so on. But you are over there, my friends. Why do you think the Russians will agree to that? Will probably agree, but why should they agree? Remember Minsk Agreements 1 and 2, they had some guarantors. The guarantors were at one point Poland, were France and Germany. And they didn't do anything. So do you think the Russians will go again to a Minsk Agreement? But this is about security. Europe got shafted, just like that. And see how Donald Trump wants to meet now Kim Jong Un. Why? Because Putin cut the line somehow. Bumped, what's his name? Trump. And according to these guys in the Agence France Presse, Seoul says fired warning shots after North Korean troops crossed the border. Oh my God, we repelled them. So now we have either a provocation from the North Koreans or a provocation from South Koreans. Which one will be? South Korea fired warning shots at North Korean soldiers that briefly crossed the heavy fortified border earlier this week. The capital of South Korea said Saturday after Pyongyang accused it of risking uncontrollable tensions. I would like to hear what North Korea has to say about that. Because, when you enter as a police officer in a situation where you have domestic violence allegations, all right, you go in and she said he did it, you talk to him and he said she did it. So what are you going to do? I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to separate the baboons and you're going to talk with the baboon number 1 and then you're going to talk with baboon number 2, preferably sometimes 2 officers. I talk to you, I talk to you. And then after that, we compare notes and say, okay, now you come over here, you go over there. We're going to have a safety plan in place and so on. But you always talk to both of them and possible witnesses, people who heard, people who saw, people who were also in the room and so on. That's what you do. Here, we hear only baboon number 1, which is South Korea, saying, the troops entered, move! And the other one's like, no. Okay, they will not even bother to ask North Korea. Why? Because that's how journalism is in the West, in the free world. You ask only whomever you think it's fitting the narrative, which is North Korea bad, South Korea perfect, as long as it follows orders. South Korean new leader Lee Jae-myung has sought warmer ties with the nuclear-armed North, but North Korea fucked up, right? Correct. And vowed to build military trust, but Pyongyang has said it has no interest in improving relations with Seoul. See, Pyongyang bad, South Korea good. Seoul's military said several North Korean soldiers crossed the border Tuesday while working in the heavily mined demilitarized zone, separating the 2 Koreans. The incursion prompted our military to fire warning shots. Okay, now Pyongyang state media said earlier Saturday that the incident occurred as North Korean soldiers worked to permanently seal the frontier, dividing the peninsula. That's it, man. And calling the event a premeditated and deliberated provocation. Ko said Seoul's military used a machine gun to fire more than 10 warning shots towards the North Korean troops, according to official. This is a very serious prelude that would inevitably drive the situation into the southern border area where a huge number of forces But Trump said he and Kim Jong Un get along and should meet again. There you go. Where do I begin to tell the story of our great love has been? Love is in the air. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested that he will hold another meeting with North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un someday, as he gets on with him very, very well. All right, we'll meet at one point with Kim Jong Un. I look forward to it, actually. The US president recalled that during the first presidential term, he met with the North Korean leader twice. He said, Kim Jong Un was very good with me, and I got along with him very well. Okay, man, you're gonna meet him very well. Where is that? Right there. This is the map of the world as we know it for now. And we go to Korea. Korean peninsula is right here by Japan. And here it is. This is where the baboons are fighting right around. This is the demilitarized zone. And the Americans are always around to support the good cause of their financial and economic interest. That's what it is. So, Trump will meet Kim Jong Un. Go ahead. Putin is already 3 laps ahead of you. So, start working out and go and catch up with Putin. Maybe you're gonna have 3 of you. I don't know, a sauna and then a little jacuzzi. Big champagne. The Russian whores over there. I don't know. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.